In this tutorial, I want to show you how to remove dark eye circles or pigmentation in Photoshop. Now, on the screen now, I've got an image of someone that has these dark eye circles. Very, very common in a lot of people, and there are a couple of ways that this can be tackled, but they're both problematic. So what I could do is I can have a go using the patch tool, which is probably the first way that people would do this. So what I can do is duplicate the layer, so Command J, and I've got a new layer there, and I can come in with the patch tool and select the area that I want to fix and then just drag it into a cleaner area. Now you can already see it's problematic in that it's hard to find areas where there isn't any hair or I'm not coming into the nose. So I'm just going to go up a little bit higher and try that. And you can see what happens is Photoshop does an okay job, but there's like residual pixels there. It's copied from the wrong area. And the other thing that it's also done is it's taken away the natural curve of the eye socket. So it's not ideal, and it's very obvious that this has been retouched. Another way to tackle this area is by using the clone stamp, and this does a really good job. So we can create a new empty layer. So it's this little icon here. Create a new layer, pick the clone stamp, and what you want to do is make sure you've got a nice soft brush, change the blend mode to the default from normal to lighten, opacity 100%, and bring your flow down to around 5%. And you want to make sure that sample all layers is selected. Now, with a nice soft brush, I can come in, holding down the Option on a Mac or Alt key on a Windows, I can select an area of good skin that doesn't have the pigmentation just under the eye color, and I can brush over it. So basically what I'm doing is grafting over the top of that. And by changing the blend mode to lighten, what I'm doing is I'm telling Photoshop that I just want you to apply a lighter pigment onto the darker areas and leave the lighter areas alone. So what happens is it does a really good job of lightening up the darker areas and cleaning all of that up. Again, the problem is that it gets, using this technique with the clone stamp, gets rid of that pigmentation that we saw, but what it's also doing is it's removed the natural texture under the eye, so you can no longer see the eye socket there. So again, it kind of looks obvious that that area under the eyes has been retouched. So the workaround, and the ideal is you can get rid of the color, but you're not removing the texture under the eyes. And this is great, particularly if you just want to retouch a male portrait, or you don't want to take away someone's personality. And this is a real tell that something's been retouched, where you lose the natural contour of the eyes and the like from the eye socket and the natural contours of the face. So what we want to do is get rid of the discoloration but not get rid of the texture. So the way we do that is, first of all, we want to duplicate the layer, so it's Command J or Control J on a Windows. And then what we're going to do is go to Filter, Other, High Pass. All right, now what you want to do is just tackle the finer details. So you can see where you can see the fine details here in the image. That's where you want to take your radius to. So if you've taken it to the point where you can start to see haloing, you know you've definitely gone too far. So you need to bring it back, and usually around 3 to 5 pixels should be enough. I'm going to go about there. So what you want to avoid is any haloing. So you can see that that's definitely too far, still too far, still too far. Around 3 to 5, 3 to 6, depending on the size of your files. So I'm going to stick to around 4. Okay, once you've done that, hit OK. And then you need to change your blend mode to overlay. All right, and essentially what we've done is sharpened the image. Now what I need you to do is click on that background layer, and we're going to create a new empty layer between this sharpened layer and our original layer. So click on that there. So now we've got an empty layer between the two. What I want you to do is come to this top layer and just hover the mouse so that it's in between the two lines. You'll see that little finger there. And what you want to do is click on the Option on a Mac, Alt on a Windows, and you'll see that there's an arrow pointing down. Click on that. So now what we've done is told Photoshop that I only want to apply the sharpening that I've just done to the layer underneath and not to affect the bottom layer. Select the empty layer now. Get your brush tool, select that, make sure you've got 0 hardness, blend mode is normal, opacity 100%, and you want to bring your flow somewhere between 5 and 10%. I'm going to go to try 6%. All right, and now what we're going to do is we need to select a color of skin tone that is the most normal of this area. So if I look at all the skin tone, I think that this color here, just next to the where the eye, that discoloration, that pigmentation is, I'm going to select this skin tone color right there. So in order to do that, to select the color, let me just reset these swatches so you can see what happens. I'm holding down the Option on a Mac, Alt on a Windows, and you can see the color dropper selection icon comes up. And if I click on that area is now selected. It comes up in my foreground swatch. And now all I need to do is brush over the pigmentation. And what we're doing is we're removing the color but not the texture. And that's the beauty of this technique, because it gives it allows you to remove the texture, remove the color, but leave the texture of the skin. So all those little fine lines under the eye will remain, but we're removing the color there. So I'll do the other eye. So same, right next to the pigmentation, I'm going to choose a good area of skin without pigmentation, and I'm holding down the Option on a Mac, Alt on a Windows, and clicking there, and I've selected that color there, and now I'm going to brush over. Now the trick is to have a very, very low flow. All right, and so I can build up that edit. So I can get in there right under where the eyelashes are, anywhere where there's discoloration, and I can now replace that with a slightly better skin color, but it maintains all the beautiful texture under his skin, all his character, so we're not making him look like he's been airbrushed. We're just giving him a sort of a better color palette in there. So now it's got, what you've got is remove the coloring under the eyes and created a really nice looking portrait there. If that's all looking like you've overdone it or it's too much, what you can do is click on both those layers, right click, group from layers. Okay, so now your entire edit is grouped into its own layer, so you can see before and after. And what you can do is just knock the opacity back overall, maybe to about, so if I go all the way to the left, 0%, And if I come along, you can get a sort of a more natural appearance there. So I think that looks pretty good, because without any colour there, it looks a bit weird, but I think that's covered it nicely. So that's how to get rid of dark circles using Photoshop.